So in this tutorial I'm going to be making a little zipped coin purse because we're following on from the purse theme, but I only got one zip, so I'm going to have to design this as we're filming. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out. You do, you can see it now on top of your screen, but I don't. So let's begin. Okay, so for this tutorial we're going to be using a DK, a light worsted weight yarn. That's a yarn weight of 3. With that, our main crochet hook is going to be a 3.5mm E4 crochet hook, but we're also going to be using a 2mm, basically just a really small one. That's for working through the zip. And you're going to need a zip, obviously, and this I think was a 10cm zip, so just a little small zip. You can pretty much use any size though for this project. You're going to need a ruler, a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, and also a pencil. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just mark out some stitches on our zip. Now I've got 2 little dots either side right by the end of our zip here, and I've also done the same at this end as well, just at the end of the zip. And now what we're going to do is this very conveniently measures between those 2 points 10cm, because it's a 10cm zip. That makes sense. And what we're going to do, just about half a centimetre away from the main zip, we're just going to put some little marks every 1 centimetre, and just put some like a little pencil mark every centimetre. Okay, we'll do that both sides. So what I've done there is I've just marked 1 centimetre all the way along, and I've done that both sides. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our yarn needle. This is where you have to be brave, and we're going to just punch some holes on every little pencil mark we've made. Pull that all the way through so you get a nice hole there. We're going to do that for every hole in our zip. Okay, and once you've done that, we're going to get our small crochet hook, and we're just going to reinforce that hole even more for each hole that we've made, just to make sure that hook fits through. We're going to do that all the way around as well. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our yarn, and this yarn is a little bit stringy, so this will be a challenge. And choosing one of the holes at the end, we're going to put our small hook into the hole, one of the holes, and we're going to yarn over with our yarn, and we're going to bring that through the hole. Then bring up a little bit of a loop. Okay, make sure we're facing the right direction. So a loop that's sort of about 1 centimetre. And then we can reach over for our next hole, and again we're going to yarn over, bring that through the hole, and then we're going to bring that through the loop to do a slip stitch. Okay, and then again bring up another 1 centimetre loop, and do that all the way to the end. So we're going to the next hole that we made, yarn over, bring that through the hole, then bring it through the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. And we're going to slip stitch all the way down. Again, remember to bring up that loop so it's not too tight. And when you get to the end, we're going to go into that last hole. So we've completed that hole on one side. Just make sure it's not like curling up too much. Then we just move over to the other side. So we just literally bring up a loop, again about 1 centimetre, reach over to the opposite side, hole, if I can find it. Okay, and do the same thing again. We just bring that yarn through the hole, then through the loop on your hook, and then we just again bring up a loop and work into the next holes all the way down this side. I'm losing my voice. So we go into that next hole, yarn over, bring that through the hole and through the loop on your hook, and just work down the opposite side. Okay, just coming up to the end, and we're going to bring up one more loop, and we're going to work back into that very first stitch again. Just bring the yarn through. I'm just going to have one more stitch on the end, and there we go. Hopefully it looks something like that, not too wrinkly. You've kept those loops nice and loose. Okay, let's move on to creating the actual purse. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to remove this small hook, and we're going to bring in a much more reasonable size hook of 3.5mm, and we're just going to do a little chain one, and we're going to work into each slip stitch. So put your hook under both loops, and in there we're going to work 2 single crochet. I didn't get onto there properly. 2 single crochet. So this pattern's in US terminology, so in UK terms that's a double crochet. So it's 1 single crochet and another one in there, 2 single crochet. And it might help just to bend the zip down, and we're going to do that all the way across. So into the next slip stitch, work 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, and do that all the way around back to the beginning. So 2 in the next one, 2 single crochet in the next one. Okay, so just coming up to the end, so 2 single crochet in each slip stitch around, and we're also working them on the ends. This very last one on the end, 2 single crochet in there, 1 and another 1, 2. And then that was our little chain one, so we're going to skip that. Looks like there's another stitch. We're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet to join. Okay, so hopefully it looks something like this. So it's really starting to come together. Just make sure before you crochet your whole purse that the zip opens nice and easily. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to work about another 4 rounds, I would say, of just 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So we're going to start off with chain 1, go back into the same single crochet you just slip stitched into, and work another single crochet, and just work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And I don't know what the stitch count is. This completely depends on the size of the zip and how many slip stitches you did. So, but we're just going to keep the stitch count the same, and we're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and we're going to do that for, I would say, another 3 rounds. So we have 4 rounds of single crochet in total. Okay, so 3 more rounds. So I shall do that, and then I shall come back. Okay, so just coming up to the end of that round, just working 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and be careful not to work into that little fake stitch, as I call it. Slip stitch into our first single crochet. Okay, so now we're going to make it a little bit more interesting. So we're going to start off with a chain 2, and we're going to do 1 double crochet. So this is going to be in US terms, so in UK terms that's trebles, but 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So we're going to skip the stitch below the chains, go into the next stitch and work a double crochet. That's 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and a double crochet in the next stitch. So that's 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a treble crochet. So we're going to wrap the yarn around our hook twice. Sorry about the zip was making a noise. And we're going to go back to that very first stitch that we skipped, the one below the chains. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our hook, this is a little bit fiddly, we're going to put our hook in between, where are we? Over here. The chains are over here. In between the chains and that first double crochet, put it in between, and we're going to come through that stitch that we skipped from the back like this. Okay, make sure your yarn's at the front. Then we're going to work our trebles. So we're going to bring the yarn through. And with a double crochet or bigger, we always yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And that creates a stitch, a big stitch that goes right across those 3 double crochets, and this will look more noticeable as we go along. Okay, then we're not going to skip any stitches. We're going to go straight into the next stitch, the next 3 stitches, and do 1 double crochet. So a double crochet in the next stitch, a double crochet in the next stitch, and a double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to work that treble in that last double crochet that we made from this first set. So we're going to wrap the yarn around our hook twice, count 3 stitches back, so 1, 2, 3, skip those 3. Then going back into that same stitch that we worked into that last double crochet, bring your hook over, go between those double crochets and work into that stitch from the back, okay? And then we bring the yarn through and we just work our treble, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and that's our next one worked. And the reason why I work it 2 stitches in 1 stitch is just to make it nice and tight, just to limit any holes in our little purse. Okay, I'll show you that one more time. We're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 3, so go straight into the next stitch and next stitch, and a double crochet in the next stitch. So it's 1 double crochet in the next 3. Okay, then I'll treble, wrap the yarn around your hook twice, count 3 back, skip those 3, and find that last stitch worked with that last double crochet from the previous set. Bring the hook down and go into that stitch from the back to the front. Okay, so it's like 4 stitches back. And then we just bring the yarn through and we work our treble, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, like so. We'll do that all the way around up to the end, and you might not have enough stitches to make this perfect, so I'll show you what to do at the end. So again, 1 double crochet in the next 3, then a treble in that 4th stitch back. So 1, 2, 3, find that 4th stitch, come from the back, and then work your treble. Just repeat that all the way around. Okay, so just coming up to the end, and I've only got 1 stitch left, but there's still quite a gap here, and I don't just want to do a double crochet by itself. So we're going to create another little cluster of stitches. So I'm going to go back, and you might have more or less stitches. If you've got 3 left, that's brilliant. You can just do a nice neat group. But if you've got 1 or 2 left, just try and add another pattern. So I'm going to go back into the same stitch I just worked, that last double crochet. Okay, so the same stitch in there. I'm going to go into that very last stitch, and I want my 3rd double crochet. I'm just going to put that one below the chains over here, I think. Okay, so I've got my 3 double crochet, so try and squeeze in another 3 double crochet, and in our last treble I'm actually going to go back to that first double crochet I made in the same stitch as that last double crochet and go between those and come for the back of that stitch, and I'm going to work my treble into there. So you might have to do this, you might not have to do this, but just try and fit 1 more little pattern section in. We're going to skip those 2 chains at the beginning, and we're just going to slip stitch into that first double crochet like so, and we've got a nice neat finish like this. And we should have a nice unit of 4 now, nice unit of 4. It should be, we should have added 1 stitch per little cluster. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to repeat that. So let's start off with a little chain 2, and we're going to go into the next 3 stitches. So skip the one we slip stitched into, go into the next stitch, go into the next stitch, and go into the next stitch, which is actually the treble. Yep. And then we work our diagonal treble in that first stitch below the chains, again coming from the back. It's very noisy with that zip. I wonder if I can quieten that a bit. Okay, and there we have our first little cluster, and we do the same thing again. We're going to go into the next 3 stitches, but this time we're going to skip the next stitch because we have a nice unit of 4 now, so we're going to skip the next stitch. Go into the next stitch and the next stitch, and then the double crochet, treble crochet in that next stitch. And then we're going to work our diagonal treble in that stitch that we skipped coming from the back. Okay, so we don't need to go back into the last stitch worked, where the last double crochet was. We just go into that skip stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around. So we skip the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next 3, 1, 2, and 3, and I have a really nasty, don't you hate it when this happens, in your yarn, so I'm going to fix this and try and neaten this off. Let's see what I can do to neaten this off. If this ever happens to you, it is probably the most annoying thing. I like to undo the knot and then create a much neater knot. So I'm going to fix this and we shall come back. And now we're going to do our treble in that skipped stitch. So wrap the yarn around your hook twice, go into that skipped stitch from the back, and try and hide this little knot in our treble, which isn't perfect, but it's not too bad. And hopefully try and neaten that up. Okay, so yeah, just repeat that all the way around. Skip the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next 3, and then work that treble in that previously skipped stitch. 2, 3, and then a treble in that skip stitch from the back. Okay, just coming up to the last one, skip 1 stitch, 1 double crochet in the next 3, 1, 2, and 3, and this time we should have a perfect stitch count because we made sure we made one last little cluster, treble in that skip stitch, and then we just skip the first 2 chains, skip those 2, and slip stitch in that first double crochet. No, don't lose my treble. Everything's going wrong. Slip stitch into there. Okay, so that's our second round and it's looking beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that 4 more times, 4 more rounds, or longer if you want a longer purse, it's entirely up to you, or shorter. We always start off with chain 2 and 1 double crochet in the next 3. We skip the stitch below the chains, 1 double crochet in the next 3. We always need to make sure that our last double crochet ends up on top of that treble here. So 1 double crochet in the next 3, and then a treble in that stitch we skipped below the chains. That's how we start the round. And then we skip the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next 3, making sure that last double crochet is on top of that treble, and then we work a treble in that previously skipped stitch over here from the back. Okay, so we're going to repeat that pattern and we're going to do that for 4 more rounds, 4 rounds. Okay, so I shall do that and I shall come back. Okay, so I've repeated that 4 more times, and all we're going to do now again is just skip that chain 2, slip stitch in that first double crochet, and hopefully you've got something that looks like this. And all we need to do now is we're going to slip stitch close the bottom either side. So I think what I'm going to do is just do a little chain 1, then we're going to go back into that first double crochet, and we're going to find the last stitch on the opposite side over here, bring the yarn through and work a slip stitch. Okay. We'll do that all the way across, going to the next stitch and then the next stitch on the opposite side, and slip stitch those 2 together And do that all the way across as neatly as you can. And that should join the bottom. Okay, and when you've done that, we're just going to cut our yarn, pull that through, and then we're just going to hide our tail ends. Which, if we open this up, we can just sew this. I think it's nice if we sew right into that corner and then sew to the inside and just hide it on the inside. And that is it. There is our finished little zipped pouch. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. You can obviously line this if you prefer. A few little gaps. It's not too bad though. So it's probably not for really small items, but you could absolutely put coins in here, no problem. But you could line it, just a little bit of fabric, fold it in, and then sew it in. I do have a tutorial on how to add a lining to a zipped purse, and maybe I think if I made this again, I would probably hide this little plastic bit here. I'd probably just put the stitch over the top of that. I think that would look neater. But there we go. I really hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope it's fun. I hope you managed to follow along. As always, a huge thank you to our Happy Braid Plus members for helping make this possible, and to our YouTube channel members as well. If you don't know about our YouTube channel membership, do check that out. And don't forget to head to the website for all the free crochet patterns, and I shall get this one up on there very soon as well. But don't forget to subscribe. It really helps our channel if you subscribe and click that notification bell. And I will see you soon for some more crochet crafting fun. Thanks for watching. Bye. So I've got like one zip, and so I need to make this, design this as we're filming. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out.